Alright guys, so I've been pretty excited to get these all together here and show you kind of the options I'm looking at trying out for different turbos on these swaps, as well as even in the cars. Um, Obviously here in the States our TDI turbo options are not that great, and a lot of them are pretty expensive, so I've been working with R2 from R2 cams and TDI parts and sourced a couple of pretty cool turbo options from Finland. I guess to start with here, this is just a stock VNT15 turbo just for reference, and this is kind of a hybrid turbo here. It would basically be called a GTB 1756. The compressor housing has been machined to fit the 56 millimeter compressor wheel, so it should perform really well, and it's on a European spec. It'll bolt onto a BRM without needing to modify anything. So that's a pretty cool option that I'm looking at putting on my brother-in-law's BRM. That should be pretty fun. And then this is one of the first ones I've gotten from R2 here. It is a GTC 1549, which is basically, it's a little bigger than the VNT15. It's more about the size of the VNT17, but it's a ball bearing turbo from the newer style, so it should perform way better on a car, and it's good to about maybe 200 horsepower. So I've debated putting that on my BRM, but I think I might get something a little bit bigger. But what I'm interested in doing is setting that up with a compound setup with this HX35, which is just the stock 6BT turbo, with this little one to spool it up. There's a pretty good chance that combo would perform very well, and I may try it for the Dakota. I am still waiting on how exactly I'm going to put the Dakota together, because it's not looking like I can use the Dodge transmission, so I may have to kind of set it up like a Jeep and go that route. But one of the other cool ones I'm looking at here, now this I can't even actually get an exact number off of. It came off of a 5.2 liter 4-cylinder diesel over in Finland, but the closest thing I can find to it would be like a GTC 2262. It doesn't exactly match that, and it is way different. It's got a 4-inch V-band clamp here because of the emissions stuff on it, but it's a much newer technology turbo. And so even though if you look here, it's a pretty small turbine wheel compared to, say, this HX35, you can see it's a much bigger wheel. But overall on the size, they're honestly not that much different. This VNT mechanism just is so much bigger. And the other cool thing that I'm going to mess with is hooking up one of these electronic actuators onto here. It had a different style one, but there isn't any way to control it. These older style Hella actuators can actually be controlled with the same wiring that goes to the N75 valve, so you can eliminate the vacuum actuation, and it should reduce a ton of lag and make the turbo respond much faster. So I'm going to work on getting that mounted on here, as well as going from a T3 to these T25 manifolds I have. Try to keep the exhaust housing as big as possible for flow. And I'm just really curious how this will respond on the Toyota, because I guess if you look at it here, I'll set it over here next to the old GT 2056 here, you can see the difference in size as far as that goes. But it's just going to be really interesting to see how this newer technology in the ball bearing turbo performs compared to this old GT 2056V, because although it does do well and it overall is working very well for me, there's definitely some lag between shifts that I don't think you can really overcome without going with a newer style turbo. So I am debating if I will go ahead and put this compound setup on the Jeep, because this 2052 wastegated turbo I have on there, you can kind of see how big it is. The exhaust housing is much smaller because it doesn't have the VNT mechanism in it, and so I think I'm actually going to use that turbo on, here it is, my mechanical engine build here, because that is probably about all the power I'll need for that. And so that wastegated turbo will work perfect for there. And I'm just not sure. I'm probably going to try the big turbo first and see, because I don't know if the Jeep needs compounds or if that big single will perform with that newer technology enough to not really need it. Because I'm overall pretty happy with the spool up of the older 2056. It's just the lag in between shifts that I'd like to just experiment with. So we'll just have to see how that works, but I'm definitely excited to get this big guy mounted in there and see what it does. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys an update on where those are at. I'm pretty much waiting on parts to get everything bolted together here, but it should be pretty fun. And yeah, if I get to try these compounds on the Jeep, it'll give me a good idea of how the Dakota will perform that way. So anyway, stay tuned guys, and thanks for watching.